It's Later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. But I don't know about you. I am really ready for this weekend. There's a lot going on for me, and I suspect that there's a lot going on for you. We got some real important conversations we got to have tonight. We have a new LAPD police chief. Well, except for the city council has to vote on him, but we know that that's a foregone conclusion. It's a formality. Jim McDonnell, who I was talking to you about a few weeks ago, who I ran into, he was a featured guest at the Long Beach Rotary Club. And I was there with my sister, who's a member, and I'll call him Chief McDonnell. Chief McDonnell and I spoke for a good 15, 20 minutes before the event and also after the event, just chopping it up, talking about the LAPD, telling me about what he thought about law enforcement, its responsibilities, policing in America. He gave a very informative speech that day talking about how policing needed to evolve. It was actually on 9/11. I remember because his message was about 9/11 and policing in a post 9/11 world. I think he is the right guy for this time, for this city. Now, the flip side of it is every police chief is pretty much popular day one, or at least upon the announcement. And then life happens, crime happens, situations happen, and then he will be scrutinized differently. I understand that completely. I'm just saying, and I'll get into it more next segment. We'll listen to some of his speech today. I think he's a good dude. I said it with Tim Conway Jr. And I think that he is sincere in what he wants to do. And what I mean by that, you hear it in his speech, which we'll play next segment. But I think he's sincere. And for the cynic that I usually am, I didn't get those same vibes with him. But we'll see, and we'll talk about it more later this evening. And speaking of some of the things that we'll be talking about, we're going to get into a little bit more of the allegations surrounding Garth Brooks. I managed to speak with one of my friends who's 1 degree of separation from Garth Brooks, not the other. So I have some initial thoughts. And also we're going to bring in Nautica De La Cruz, who has worked in this business as long as I have, if not longer, as long as Tuala has in radio. She's been in radio, I don't know, for the better part of 30 years and has met and dealt with just about every person in this business. And I think it would be a misstep on my part. We'd be remiss if we did not include her voice in this conversation, talking about Diddy specifically, the Me Too movement and the music industry in a general sense. And I know she has plenty of anecdotes to add, and we're going to spend a little bit of time on that. Also, we have the Rana Report, very, very popular segment.
Is it now?
No, I mean that, seriously. The numbers do bear it out.
Really? Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the few things you don't know, Mark.
Happy Friday, Mo.
You detected a hint of sarcasm there?
Well, I know you wouldn't dare, so I always give you the benefit of the doubt. I hope you know that.
Why, thank you. Thank you. And the subject for the Rana Report tonight is?
Tonight we're going to talk about Joker Folie de. That's the French pronunciation. Folie de.
I get a sense that you didn't love it, but I'll wait for you to tell us.
Well, I was never great at French. I had to take it a couple different times just to get through it, so please forgive my poor French pronunciation. Duh.
No hints there.
No.
And also, we have, I'll say, a lead-in, a warm-up, a kickoff of the Halloween month. We actually have the cities which have the most horror movie filming locations in America. And you know, if we're talking about it, California has something to do with it. And that's a perfect lead-in to name that movie called Classic tonight. And it will be horror movies, psychological thriller movies, slasher movies, all the things which make Halloween great. And also, I always want to test Mark Ronner because he is a student and at this point, a professor of the genre.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm excited to see what you picked.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's some that I think that you should know but don't readily recognize. Not try to stump you, but I'm not trying to be too obscure. There are some movie clips which are, I think, relatively easy if you're listening and paying attention. And there are some which, if you're not a horror aficionado, you may not recognize.
I misjudged. The couple times I've hosted when it was movie night, I figured that I was making the questions too easy, and people didn't know stuff that I figured, like everybody, like Blade Runner. So it's a crapshoot.
It really is. It really is. And last week, we had one of the clips, which was Action Jackson. And in my mind, I said, no one is going to get this. Even if you've seen the movie, you're not going to get it. The only way is if you guessed because you heard Carl Weathers' voice. And then we talked to the one person who knew it within the first 5 words.
Yeah, you had a ringer calling in on that one. I was astonished at this, and I didn't know it either.
People may not know. People, our contestants, they really don't know. And I am being honest. I have a list of 10 clips. They asked for number 7. I played number 7. I'm not changing it up relative to who I think the caller is or what I think he or she may know. It's very genuine. It's very truthful. Okay? We let you cheat, but I'm not trying to set you up or try to redirect the show to, accommodate certain callers. So
this isn't like one of those 50s quiz shows where
no.
you pipe the right answer to the person you want to win.
Right. It's not like I'm in someone's ear whispering to them and telling them like, it is get out.
That's illegal.
No, we're not doing that. But we are giving away more passes to the pre-Halloween soiree on October 30th here at the Honda Studios at KFI and iHeartRadio. Yeah. It's a big to-do, and I mean this. We're not going to publicize this. We're not going to promote this. You're not going to see it on the website, and that is intentional. We want to make sure that the people who are coming to the party really want to come to the party. We want to make sure that the people who will be at the party are the people who've been listening to the show and know the show and want to be part of this celebration. So we can fill up the room. It's not a problem. It's just who is going to be in the room that's going to be filling it up. That is most important. We're going to have swag that we're giving away. We're going to have mugs. We're going to have keychains. We're going to have T-shirts. You're going to be in costumes. We're going to be having a good time. Some of us might even be drunk. Not me, because I have to be on the radio, but there will be libations there. I can't speak for anyone else except for Twala, because he doesn't drink. Now, as far as Stephen and Mark, we'll take it as it goes, all right? We'll play it by ear.
I am a news professional, I'll have you know. That's all I'm going to say, in fact.
Right.
And one he's not even drunk.
One has nothing to do with the other.
When the words came out of my mouth, I realized, that could go either way.
That's right. When we come back, we're going to talk more about Jim McDonnell and his recent appointment as LAPD's next chief. KFI AM 640, it's Later with Mo Kelly. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
We will have a new police chief for LAPD, Jim McDonnell. You may know that he was former L.A. County Sheriff. He was former police chief for Long Beach and longtime member of LAPD ranks, working his way up. And I feel very good about this pick by Mayor Karen Bass for all the discussions that we've had about crime here in the city and also here in the county. You can't talk about crime in just the city. I understand the chief is for LAPD and LAPD is for LA City and its unincorporated areas, but it works hand in hand with LA County. And I feel comfortable and confident about this pick, Jim McDonnell. And I've only had the opportunity to meet a few of the previous chiefs or dialogue with them. Bernard Parks, Willie Williams, and there was one other. I think I crossed paths with Charlie Beck, but that's about it. It's an impossible job, of course, and you're never more popular than when you first take the job, and then controversy and crime will happen, and it chips away at that popularity. But going in, I think this is a very strong pick. Someone, for all the talk of you may want an outsider to come in from a different city. Oh, it's Chief Bratton. That's who it was. Chief Bratton. For all the talk of an outsider like Bratton or someone else coming in from the outside and changing the police department, I think someone with McDonnell's experience in Los Angeles County writ large is beneficial and probably very helpful in the direction of LAPD. And here is some of what he had to say earlier today after Mayor Bass introduced him.
And the LAPD Academy 43 years ago. And I pause when I say that because I just can't wrap my head around that. That is a long time. I love this city, and I understand the modern-day challenges our officers face in trying to protect it. To our LAPD officers, I thank you. You answer the call, you perform your duties with dignity, and you hold each other to the highest professional standards. Standing before you here today is a dream realized. It's a tremendous honor to lead the men and women of the LAPD. We will work hard to make sure that you are supported with your work to be able to keep all Angelenos safe. In simplest terms, my goals are to enhance public safety, to grow our department back to full strength through a solid recruitment and retention campaign, to strengthen public trust, the foundation of all we do, to further develop community relationships, and to be able to take that to new levels, to ensure respectful and constitutional policing practices in all that we do, and to prepare our organization and our partner agencies for the many challenges that face us ahead. As I prepare to take this role, I bring with me a comprehensive understanding of public safety from law enforcement, academic, and business perspectives. In the next 5 years, the eyes of the world will be on us. Los Angeles will host the World Cup, it will host the Olympic and Paralympic Games, it will host a Super Bowl and an NBA All-Star Game. Our department and our city will be showcased, and we will be prepared. What a great opportunity that is for all of us in LA. I look forward to working with Chief Choi, and again, thank you, Chief Choi. He's probably the happiest guy here today. And I thank the entire LAPD team for all that's been done and all that we will do together to make Los Angeles an even safer city and to make every member of our department proud of our organization. I know that Mayor Bass is committed to making Los Angeles a safer city each day and will support our efforts, and I'm thankful for that. The reason I'm here today is because I believe in her commitment. We will face our challenges together. To those considering a career in public safety, I say join us to build a safer Los Angeles. This is a time of great challenge, but a time of tremendous opportunity.
Yes, there will be some challenges. There will be some obstacles in the near future. As he listed, you got the World Cup. You have the Olympics and Paralympics. You have NBA All-Star Game. Those are situations which can be problematic for all sorts of reasons. And you have the eyes of the country, if not the world, on us, especially when you're talking about the Olympics and the World Cup. I don't know why he came out of retirement again to do this, but I suspect that he sincerely wants to see a better Los Angeles for you and me. He didn't have to do this. He doesn't need this, but he's choosing to do it. And in my limited interaction with him, he leaves me with a very good feeling. He did promise to have an open line of communication with me, so I hope to dialogue with him in the future as we move along through these events and situations. And as much as I talk about Metro, he probably will have an outsized input and also impact on what happens with Metro and how policing will evolve and change here in the city of Los Angeles. So LA has some big time events which are going to be here. And of course, you know that, but also the problems that we're going through right now are big in and of themselves. I don't know where he would start. I don't know all of his philosophies, but I do know he did express to me he wanted to change the morale. He wanted to change the perception of LAPD. He wanted to get the police academy back up in its cadets. He wanted more people to seek out public service in the form of law enforcement. And I think he might be the right guy for that. I don't necessarily know all the particulars, the insides of what's going on with LAPD, so I'm not going to overstate my connection to him. But I do think that this is a major step in the right direction, and I think it was a fine choice by Mayor Bass. And she and I may disagree politically on a number of issues, but this is something I think she made the right choice and got the right person for the right time in this city. It's later with Mo Kelly. We're going to talk about Garth Brooks, P. Diddy, Jaguar Wright. You may or may not know that name. We'll introduce you to her if you don't know her. Jay-Z and more. And we're going to do it from an informed perspective.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
By now, you should know that country music star Garth Brooks has been accused of raping and battering a woman who claims she worked as his hairstylist and makeup artist. She has filed the suit under the pseudonym of Jane Roe, and she says that in the paperwork, the lawsuit, that Garth Brooks allegedly raped her in a hotel room during a work trip where she felt trapped and alone with Brooks. And I reached out to a couple of my friends, one who had worked with him, toured with him, written songs with him, and another who had worked more on the periphery with him and is casual friends with him and has known him for more than 20 years. One person I was able to reach and have the conversation with, another I was not. But this is what was told to me. And this is someone who actually listens to the show. And the first thing he threw back to me is like, Mo, we don't know these people. Something I always say. We don't know these people. In other words, people that you may like their talent, you may like how they sing, and they may have a public persona, which is very pristine, but you don't know them. And there are people who have spouses that they don't even know. They don't know what they're doing when they're out on the road. So I say that to say, I know the public persona of Garth Brooks, but I'm looking at this within the context of the larger Me Too moment of the music industry, which is happening right now. I don't put anything past anyone, but this is one thing I will say before we move on. There are reportedly text messages, and the text messages say whatever the text messages say and can tell a story, which I believe is inarguable on some level as far as the other allegations of sexual harassment and exposure of genitals, or if there are any type of D-pics or things which might have been sent. So I'm still taking a cautious approach to that. But joining me in the studio right now is Nautica De La Cruz, someone who's worked in radio and music industry with the biggest names for at least 30 years. Is that fair?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and you are from New York. You know a little something about the New York scene, the New York hip-hop scene.
Yes.
You've probably interviewed Diddy how many times?
About four or five times.
Okay, and you've been to a Diddy party or two?
About four of them, especially I think the last one was in Vegas.
Okay. What did you see? What did you notice? What do you make of this moment?
You know, this is kind of hard because at the end of the day, if there's facts and receipts, that's what people are going to look at. You know what I mean? And you said something earlier. We don't know these people. Yes, we don't live with them. We're not married to them. We don't sleep with them. So therefore, we really, truly don't know them. We know the surface level of everything. And everything done in the dark always comes to the light regardless. But I will say this, that you know, when you go, whether it's a Garth Brooks or a P. Diddy, when you go to their concerts or you go to their parties or their after parties, there's always something that's going to be a consequence. And I remember one time I was in Vegas and I went to a white party in Vegas.
This is the Diddy party.
The Diddy party, yes. Okay. And there was tons of celebrities, big name celebrities that we know that are still famous to this day. Now, I only stayed to show face. You know, sometimes I've always was one of those, I'll show up. I'll tell my program director I showed up. But also as a radio personality, I would show up because that would give me something to talk about that next day or Monday or so forth. And, you know, you saw a lot of different things, but you saw things, but you were like, oh, that's what celebrities do. You know, they kiss on the lips or they're very touchy or, you know, not with me though, not with me. But I will say that I think everyone knows that the real party was always the after party.
And I always want to make that distinction. If you see someone post a picture, here's a picture of Diddy and Donald Trump or Diddy and someone else. I try to tell people, look, that's the press portion. You know, famous people know famous people. They take pictures of famous people. The parties that we're talking about, the freak-offs, those are the after party. Explain that for people.
Yes, those are the parties that start normally after 1:00. And if you know, sometimes he would make an announcement. Those that want to stay could stay. Those who don't want to stay don't have to stay.
But he's saying that with people understanding that it was going to change.
Exactly. And I think after 1 o'clock, you're pretty much done. And me, at least, I turn into a pumpkin spice. But talking about something that you said about pictures, my mother called me yesterday and she was asking me about P. Diddy. And she was like, did you ever go to any of his parties? And I said, yes. She was like, what? She goes, you don't have any pictures with him? I said, oh, yeah. I said, I have a picture of me and him on Instagram at Nautica de la Cruz, by the way. Shameless plug. My mom goes, no, please take it down. Take it down. I said, Mom, it's just me and him. He's not touching me. I said, you could see his hand is barely touching me. I said, he was a young P. Diddy at that time. I'm sure the freakouts had started back then. I said, but it was a dinner party. He was promoting some sort of album. But my mom doesn't want me to be affiliated. She doesn't want even a picture of me and him because I'm a respectable woman. A little cray-cray, but I'm respectable.
How many times have you interviewed him?
About 4.
What did you notice about his demeanor, or what was possibly how he'd address other people when the mics weren't on?
Okay, so the first 2 times I interviewed him, he was, he was coming up, you know what I mean? And so he was over talking, promoting a lot, talking about the producers and the album and,
like
and
a hype man, really over the top.
Ready. Okay, the 3rd time I interviewed him, he was a little bit more calm. The 4th time I interviewed him, it was like he didn't even want to be in the studio, like, okay, like, is this done? Is this interview done? Like, is that it?
Did you ever witness any untoward behavior towards staff, women, maybe who in his employ, anything of that nature?
No, you know what? He would always come with two guys. I knew one was a bodyguard. I don't know I can't remember who the other one was, but he was never around. There was never females around. It was just him. But he always wanted to. The last 2 times is like, come on, let's get this interview over with. Let's go.
Arrogant?
Yes, a little. Mm-hmm. When he first came out, he was hungry. For those that might know this, I would say my New York crew, they called him Puff for a reason. It wasn't because of the way his lip looks. It's because he would puff and pout if he didn't get his way. That's how he ended up with the name Puffy. That's what, people would say in the streets. But, when he was first coming up, he was hungry. He wanted to promote. He wanted to promote Biggie's album, and he wanted to promote all the bad boy artists, Mace and so forth. But, after that, he got a little big. And, when you start making, money your God, it's kind of like, oh, I'm invisible now. Like, nothing matters. Like, you're not important. You're just a peasant to me.
I noticed when I worked in the business, I saw a lot of things that weren't for public consumption. I heard a lot of things and knew a lot of things which were not meant to be repeated. Even to this day, there's certain stories that I'm not going to tell because I know that there could be consequences for me and my family. We were talking off the air, and there are stories that that you can't tell.
Correct.
And I know that there are other stories that other people probably were scared of telling. And I made the point that, at least in the music industry, the threat of violence was real. It wasn't about worried about their careers per se. It was about their lives and their families. Would you agree with that?
I agree. Absolutely. I don't know if you follow Jaguar Wright, but I fear for her because
she's just on Piers Morgan.
Oh, yes. Correct. I've been going through this rabbit hole and just watching every single TikTok video, and she says a lot of stuff I already knew, and I'm like, oh my goodness.
In her last interview, just for people to know, she said, quote, "For 4 years I've been screaming not just Diddy, but Diddy and Jay-Z are monsters, and the victim making machine kept going on." She has had a long and consistent refrain about Diddy and Jay-Z being basically one and the same. In other words, if you dig deep enough, she's insinuating with Jay-Z you'll find the same stuff as with Diddy, if not worse.
Mm-hmm. And the thing about Jaguar is she is not only speaking the truth, nobody is after her. She has facts, receipts, texts, messages, videos, you name it. She is untouchable right now, but I do fear for her just walking in the streets of New York or wherever she lives. I know sometimes she can be bi-coastal, but I fear for her.
People forget Tupac was shot and killed.
Correct.
Notorious B.I.G. was shot and killed. Those P. Diddy's artists. There have been a number, Jam Master Jay. There's always been a criminal element either within the music industry or just on the periphery. There's always been a drug element within or just on the periphery of the music industry. They went hand in hand. The violence was real, and I don't understand why people are still saying, why didn't so-and-so come forward? Because she was afraid of getting killed. When we come back, we have Tuala Sharp, who has some stories that he'd like to add to this, and also Nautica De La Cruz, who continues to join us in studio telling her time in the business. It's Later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640 live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
As we continue our conversation about Me Too in the music industry, I have Nautica De La Cruz, over 30 years in radio, and has a lot of stories that she's going to have to take to the grave with her, because the threats of violence are real, and that's an overriding point. And there was another point I was making where just because you see a picture of someone at a party, it doesn't mean they went to the after party. I'll give you just a perfect example with me, and then Tuala's going to take over. There are pictures of me and Carmen Electra and also downtown Julie Brown. It was taken at the Playboy Mansion. It was for an album release party. Hugh Hefner was there. The Playboy Bunnies were there. The Grotto was there for everyone to see. It was a bona fide Playboy Mansion party. If it comes out, and there have been a lot of allegations about Hugh Hefner, for example, trying to make this false comparison to Diddy. But, someone could say, hey, Mo, I saw this picture of you and so-and-so and so-and-so at a Hefner party. Are you part of that as well? And I try to make the point, and Nautica made it beautifully last segment. There's the party, and then there's the after party, and then there's the after party. Because I was at the party, there was Whitney Houston, Bobby Brown, members of the Lakers, Robert Horry, Paula Abdul, Carmen Electra, all sorts of people. Famous people, party with famous people. Not everyone's invited to the after party. Am I right, Tual?
No, absolutely. There's a young lady who is an ex-porn star who was under the employ of Diddy, who was being groomed and trafficked, and she is going now on record to talk about the people that she saw at his parties, people from Diana Ross, Al Sharpton, Donald Trump, on and on and on. And everyone knows back in the day, just for the lay people, those of us in the music industry, especially music radio, were responsible for playing these records and making these artists happen. Where at my station here on the West Coast, we were responsible for blowing the entire Bad Boy roster out of the water.
Every single Diddy song.
Every single Diddy song, every single artist, every single everything started at our station, period. Yes, we would get invitations to the parties, and yes, we would go, because it's like, yo, you're going to the party. We were not going knowing that there were after parties. Those were for the individuals who were taken into the confidence and no. But anytime I went to a party, you saw anyone, because everyone wanted to be a part of the scene. I went to one party. It was a white party. It was in Hollywood Hills.
What you mean by white party?
It was everyone has to dress in white. Everyone has to dress in white.
I don't want you to get misconstrued.
No, I don't want Mark Rodder to feel uncomfortable. No. This is where everyone had to dress in white, right. Part of the ambiance. And I'm there chilling for a long while, and I was there with the record rep. And as I was getting ready to leave, he said, hold on, T, hold on. The party's just about to start. And it's getting late. And I'm like, man, I got to be up early in the morning. I got to get to the station, all this. And I see two little shuttle buses roll up, and some scantily clad talent starts rolling off the buses. They're coming into the party. And I'm like, it's past midnight. This is going on maybe 1 a.m. Like, what is happening? I'm like, you know what? Mm-hmm. I'm not even going to play myself, because at the time I was married, and I said, this is the part where I say bye.
But you know that there's going to be after-party shenanigans, and I want to make the distinction between after-party shenanigans and criminal behavior.
Yes.
Right.
There are after-party shenanigans, and then there is that point in time, and I know firsthand when I go back to individuals and I get the recap, like, hey, I know you stayed, what happened? And it is just bucket nakedness. A lot of individuals that T stayed in and played a role in a lot of the sexual activities. There was all types of things that were unsavory happening at these parties. And I have been to some parties myself where I've seen some things happen. I've actually seen individuals that we all know by name, individuals we know who were married at the time, engaging with talent at a party. And I said to myself, wow.
There are a lot of stories I can't tell on the radio.
A lot of stories can tell. Will not put these individuals' names in the news like that, but I'm telling you, I've seen it firsthand. There is all of the stories that you will see accusing any number of entertainers from being in Diddy's company. But it is when you get to these very, very egregious stories, these horrific stories. There's a former security guard for Sean Combs right now who is on camera. This is he's on camera talking about how he witnessed a young Usher Raymond leaving a Diddy party, and he had to be taken to the hospital because of something that happened to him.
I got to jump in there. People may not know. When he says Usher Raymond, he was originally known as Usher Raymond. Now he's just known as Usher.
Usher, yes.
Go ahead.
And when I saw that video today, he's like, look, there's so many stories I can tell you about when I worked for Diddy and why I got out of the music industry and just started, being a security guard for businessmen and things like that, because the music industry and being around Sean Combs and that crew, it was horrible. The things that I saw. Everyone is emboldened now thanks to Cassie and her stance. Everyone is emboldened and everyone is taking their stance and having their say because they feel safety in numbers. Jaguar Wright, when she's coming out now talking and now she's bringing Jay-Z into the loop, I'm like, Miss Wright, please protect yourself.
Yes.
Why do you say that, Tuala?
Because these individuals are not removed from the street. They are still 1 foot in the street and have access at the snap of a finger to making something happen. That is, I wholeheartedly agree with you, Nautica.
Thank you.
Prayers in the air for someone like a Jaguar Wright, who is literally laying everyone out.
I don't think people understand when we say 1 foot in the street. These are individuals who can make a phone call and green light the murder of someone.
Yes.
And I mentioned Tupac. There was a call. They talk about it now. There was a call where they said, "Is it a go on him for what he did against the Crips in the club?" He was green lit. Someone made a call, and Biggie Smalls, Notorious B.I.G., was green lit, and that was right outside your station. As a matter of fact,
down the street.
Yeah,
right down the street. Walking distance.
Mm-hmm.
Walking distance. This is how easy individuals can be touched. And people who think you can just walk around free, there's a reason why we do not put names and faces to the stories that we are telling. We are giving you the Law and Order version of these stories.
Right. We're changing the names to protect the guilty.
Yes.
Right.
And because there are individuals who are still very connected.
The corollary to all this, pardon me for butting in with a question, is what role do all of you believe compromise and potential blackmail plays in this whole scenario?
Well, everyone at a certain level has videos on everyone.
Exactly. That's what I thought.
So someone speaking, like, for example, there are people that you're not going to hear anything from because probably they're implicated somewhere along the way.
And I'm guessing a lot of household names are in these.
Oh, yes. We're talking, if you see the discussions online about why is so-and-so so quiet, probably for a damn good reason.
So how do you see this playing out then?
More people are going to be arrested. More people are going to be implicated. More people are going to be accused of. And we tried to tell people a long time ago there were going to be more and more people coming out against Diddy. Now it's up to like 150. We said there were going to be other artists who were going to be implicated because of our knowledge of the music industry. Now you get names like Garth Brooks. There are going to be more. And I don't understand why people keep thinking we don't know what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. We've seen it. We've lived it. I'm telling you, there will be other big names that you know who are going to be implicated, who are going to be sued, who are going to be criminally charged. This is just the first of many. They didn't believe us last time. Maybe believe us this time. KFI AM 640. We are live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
We're watching everything, so you can watch your sanity.
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live everywhere.